Excuse me, the JPY broke the weekly pivot as well. Okay, I will talk about that later, but I was talking about this. You see, pivots are what tell the candlesticks where to stop. So these, if you learn these too well, that's the whole market. If you haven't learned them yet, anything else that I teach you, you will make mistakes in that strategy because you don't know about the pivots and candlesticks. So, did you say USD JPY? No, Canada dollar and JPY. Okay, so it hasn't broken it yet. It has to go further than this. You see, look at this here. If you see that these fractals that are here on my chart, if you look at them, and if this is another method, whenever you see that the price deletes a fractal, that means that the price has been opened. Excuse me? So it deleted the whole swing high from before. Yes, this fractal is going to be deleted. If this happens, you need to see how it happens. So you see, in candlesticks, we have these rules. If the candlestick is completed like this, there's an ascending signal here. But where is the candlestick is going to stop? That's what pivots are for. The pivot's telling me that it's going to come up to here. And when it reaches here, this candlestick will give another signal. And that's also an ascending signal. But the candlestick subject is very wide. You see, we need to start from the 5-minute time frame, and we will talk about candlesticks the whole time in the class. But first, you need to understand pivots well. I told you about pivots. Pivots specify where the price is going to stop and where it's going to go. So you need to learn about pivots first. You see, Mr. Sadaqi, if the price here has been broken, you told me that the price has been broken here, but it hasn't been broken yet. If you had bought here, you would have made a loss. So you need to wait for the rules to be performed completely. And if you don't, you may lose. I have been in the market for 15 years and I have made a lot of losses, big losses, to learn these. The money I put in the market was 1.5 billion tomans. So I will not forget why I've made the losses that I've made. I've learned them very well. So in here, you didn't wait for this to be broken completely. Whenever the fractal is deleted, that's when it's broken. Whenever it can open the shadow here next to it, that is when it's broken and you can buy. But if it hasn't happened yet, you shouldn't rush into it. Imagine that 99% of what I wanted to do is done, but the 1% isn't done. You shouldn't be greedy because of that 1% that it hasn't happened. You should wait for that 1% to be done too and then do your job. If you believe in yourself and believe in the market, you will succeed. But I'm telling you about the rules of the market. Now I know that based on candlestick, I have an ascending signal. So I can buy here. And you should buy too at this point and take a profit. But you shouldn't rush into it. I bet you $500 that the price is going to reach here to 82.45. If it didn't reach here, I will give you $500. Because I know about candlesticks and you don't. Mr. Sadaqi, you should wait for the pivots to be opened yet, completely. If you hadn't waited for it, you would made a loss. I know if that you hadn't waited, you will be you will lose. And that's a high risk trade. You should wait to learn candlesticks first, and then it will be completely easy for you to do these. You will reach to a level that you won't even draw these lines. You will do them in your mind. You won't need to draw them anymore. But a rule of the pivots is that whenever a pivot is broken, the price is going to reach the next pivot. And whenever your third pivot is broken, that is when you can buy freely. If R3 is broken, you have to buy. You see, we had a chart that Miss Sharifi had sent us. It was USD from yesterday, not today. I don't know, but it was a chart where the R3 had been broken. And she had started the buy process, but she hadn't paid attention to my words completely. If your weekly pivot is opened, let me put it like this. If the weekly pivot is broken completely, you can make sure that it's going to reach the next weekly pivot. But we have to check if you have any daily pivots on the way or not. But if the daily pivot is broken, for example, R1 line is broken, you can make sure that it's going to reach R2 line. You see, do you remember, Ms. Sharifi, that you said that these pivots are all very close to each other? You see, there are distances between these pivots. If you see that the pivots are so close together, don't trade on that chart because it has a problem in it and it won't be easy to trade. So when the USD CHF chart is this good, why would I stick to USD JPY when we have a sideways trend and the pivots are so close together? You see, you have to put all of this in your mind. Excuse me, you see this? The fractal is deleted. Now you can start buying freely. It's very much easier than this chart. You see, in this you should wait for the price to come up to here and then it will retrace. You can buy in here and you will take profit because your pivot has been broken and open. And I know it's going to come up to here. Don't be afraid. A successful trader should not be afraid. Why are analyzers good in analyzing but they're not good traders? Because they are afraid, they have fear. A, a good trader is a good analyzer, a good teacher, and a fearless trader. Don't be afraid to buy. because it's going to come up to here. You can make sure. And I'm telling you to buy. Don't be afraid. When I give you hints in the class, use them. Use these key points. So did you understand this in here? Yes. You should wait for the pivot to be opened. The shadow has been opened, the fractal has been deleted, so you can buy. Excuse me. So if the shadow is broken, it means that if the pivot was supposed to be completed, it would have been completed the previous shadow. But it didn't happen, and so it has to break the next shadow, right? Yes, exactly. So if it breaks the shadow, it has to go further than that. Yes, but you should wait for it. You shouldn't rush into it. You see how beautifully it's going to go up. These are situations in the market that you can take a lot of profits. You see, when I see that in the in a week I am gaining 100% profits, I stuck the market and I enter the market in the points that will give me a lot of profits. The market is always there, the fluctuations are always there, but your money isn't always there. You see, did you understand this? Excuse me, please. The point that you just explained, that you said that the price has to delete the fractal so we know that it has broken the shadow. Excuse me. You see, the fractal is deleted when between that is there's only one candle. Every candle is deleted every 1 hour and 30 minutes. So it doesn't happen immediately. It happens after 1 hour and 30 minutes. So when the price is here and there are 3 candles between it, it's the fractal is not going to be deleted because there has to be only one candle between them. Excuse me, for example, in Canada dollar and JPY, it was the fractals were very close together and then it got deleted, right? Yes. And now that you said it has to be a distance there, imagine we don't have any fractals and the candle is going up and the other candle has formed a long shadow. It means that the candle has been descending, and so if it goes further than the body of the next candle, that's when we can be sure. Yes, it has to go further than the shadow though. Yes, if it goes further than the shadow, the price has been opened. So you see, it has broken the weekly blue line there, and then it goes further than the shadow too. Yes, but if hasn't gone further than the shadow, there's a possibility of retracement, right? Yes. So the pivot has this rule. So in the pivots, we understood that the lines have to be updated. That's the first point. And the next point is that it has to be updated from the top. And the second one is that the ties should not be in those lines. And the next one is that the third pivots have to be broken. And the last one is the one that you saw. That when you see a candle has formed a shadow and the price has declined, you can see the pivot has been opened when it opens a shadow. For example, like here. So this is the rule of the pivots. For example, now the pivot has been opened here. And the rule is that it has to go as far as the next pivot. And this is the next pivot, 82.555. That happens in the future. It will happen. in midterm time frame. But in short term time frame, you have a daily pivot, 82.737. So you have to exit, take your profit, and when it declines, you have to start buying again. And when it opened the daily pivot again, you can do your third buy. You see, in here I have a daily pivot here, and between the first weekly pivot and the second one I have a daily pivot. If I buy here, I will exit on here, and if it declined, I will buy again and exit again here, and if it declined again, I will buy again, and if I say that it breaks, I will exit, and then I will buy again here. I don't buy on this point because there's a pivot here. This is a pivot itself. So this is the middle zone. For example, 23 points, like the level 23 or level 38, that between two resistance we have pivots. So pay attention to this. So you mean that in USD JPY, did you explain that on USD JPY? All of them are the same. The trend is the same. But in USD JPY we have a daily pivot. Yes, for example in this. If it reaches here, if it goes further than the shadow, it's over, right? Yes. You see this spike here? It has been stuck here. It, but this will be broken because the first weekly pivot is broken and it has to reach the second weekly pivot. It has been stuck in here though. It will touch this zone as well because your first weekly pivot has been broken and it has to break the second one. But you need to be careful if you saw the daily pivot. You see, it's stuck. Don't buy exactly here because sometimes when it's reached and touched, it declines. But sometimes it's so powerful that it is the second weekly pivot immediately. So if you buy here, expect it to come as low as here because there you had a daily pivot here. So you should expect that to happen. You saw it happen before your eyes. But it will eventually reach this point, and when it does, it will become weaker and weaker and get stuck here again. But you can buy in here. Not in this chart though. You should have bought in this zone. I uh I had put a TP here so it got closed on its own. Oh, okay. So you see here between the weekly pivots I have a daily pivot, and when the price touches this one, it's going to get stuck here because I have a daily pivot. You should pay attention to this. You shouldn't buy on this zone. This is a common mistake. Sometimes people don't know that there's a daily pivot on top of it, so they buy here and then they will lose. But now you've learned this and you know when to buy. So you know that when R1 is broken, you can buy in this zone. But you can sell with a risk in this zone. But because the market elasticity is ascending, suggest you to don't not to sell here and wait for it to decline and then buy again and put a take profit on there. So you mean that we should treasure every opportunity, right? Yes, exactly. The market will not have a mercy on you. You should not give the market any chance. You should treasure every cent. You shouldn't be afraid. If you have fear, it will make you lose. If you don't have any fears, you will win. And you saw it now. And you learned that you shouldn't buy here. Let it decline first and then you can buy again. Excuse me, you said when you talked about fear, when I'm sure that the market elasticity is ascending, for example, I will make a mistake of buying here. In this chart or any chart, doesn't matter. At the end, the price will decline and then go up again. Like in this situation, yes. And in that situation, when I know the market elasticity and the candle elasticity, it, I don't have to be worried, right? Because I haven't closed the trade yet. And until I haven't done that, nothing is going to happen. Yes, exactly. So we need to wait and we need to wait for it to go back. Yes? And we shouldn't be afraid. Yes, exactly. It's going what's going to happen in this situation. If it comes down again, buy again. And if it goes up, then sell. You see, you can take profits in two situations here. If it goes down again, you should buy because it's going to break R2 level. Yes, exactly. And you should put the take profit on this zone. You see, on here, below this pivot. Because if it comes down, it's going to be a descending trend. But if the pivot down here is broken, it's going to come as far as this pivot. So you need to maneuver in these, between these pivots. Did you understand these points? Yes. Mr. Ivy, what about you? Yes. So you have learned all about pivots. Can we plan the magic pivot from Monday on so we can take our profit? We can identify. You mean in long-term tradings? Yes, in weekly tradings. But that goes back to when you have learned about the candlesticks. But now you have to trade based on pivots. I know that you want to do weekly trades because you're very busy. But you should do that based on candlesticks and pivots. But because you don't know about candlesticks yet now, you shouldn't do it. Because it because you may lose if you do that. So I should have put the take profit below R1 level, right? Yes. But I don't think it's going to decline. I think it's going to go up. No, don't be so sure because sometimes in the market we think that it's going to go up. We're 100% or 99% sure it's going to go up, but it doesn't. What are the mistakes that we make? For example, this pivot here is equivalent to the central pivot that was there before. So unless this has been opened yet, we can't be 100% sure. But in this, based on other criterias, yes, it's going to go up. And at the weekend, it's going to come up to here. at 82.973. Excuse me, can we look at NZDUSD chart too? Okay. This is a, we have an uptrend here, right? No, no, we don't. Because there has been a correction at the bottom and it hasn't touched the top point here. You mean these? No. You see, there has a decline here and it has been very far from the lines. You see, this is a very good point. You see, this has broken the third pivot here. And I said that whenever it does that, it's going to come up to R1 level. If you remember, I told you this the last session. So it has reached R1 level. Excuse me, I meant S1 level. It's going to come up to S1 level when it breaks the third pivot. And this has happened in here. So it has come very far from the central line and is below S1. So how do you expect it to go up? You remember this. Whenever it goes far and the price is below S1, don't expect it to go up there. These are going to get updated and the lines will go lower. Keep an eye on it tonight. Okay, any other questions? Mr. Sadeghi, do you have any questions? No. So we're all done on pivots and we're going to talk about candlesticks the next session. Is that okay? Yes. If you have any questions, you need to ask me now before we go on to the candlestick subject. Yeah, it's okay. We're going to practice these on the demo. And if we have any other problems, we will ask you. What about you, Miss Sharifi? All right. I don't have any questions. No. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will send you the video, work on pivots, and until next session. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.